Why, hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. This is Otaku Showboat. Today is Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. I hope I sound okay-ish. I am using a different microphone today, an older one, Blue Yeti microphone. I've got Ollie next to me as well. This microphone is a USB microphone. It does not go through an audio mixer. I'm doing this because we have been experiencing some audio cracking recently, and I want to try to find out what the issue is, if the issue is hardware or software. That's all that this particular test is going to tell me. So if there is that same audio crack during the stream today, scream loudly so that I know. Because if that is the case, then it is software side. It is not hardware side. And I can go back to using my regular microphone. If we don't get that audio crack, then there is something along the path on the hardware side that will cause that crack. Which, I mean, it could be as simple as the XLR cable. It could be the USB cable from the audio interface to the computer. It could be the audio interface, or it could be the actual microphone itself, any one of those things. And it's not particularly easy to test any one of those things in isolation, because I don't have another good XLR cable that I can use. I don't really have a different USB type A to type B connector. So, because it uses that funky squared connector on the audio interface for USB. So it's like, alright, well, anyway. So that's a thing. Also, apparently my Logitech G Hub sees the Blue Yeti microphone, and yet right now it does not see my webcam. So the webcam looks how it should, but it's just I don't see it on Logitech G Hub because it wants to show me the Yeti now, apparently, and it doesn't see the webcam. Don't know why, but oh well. That's just the way things are. So, it's been a week since we last met. We had a holiday here in the United States, Thanksgiving holiday. It went okay. I'll say it went okay. We were expecting to have a guest who unfortunately was not able to come on the day of, and we found out the day of. They also found out the day of that they wouldn't be able to attend because they happened to be a firefighter in one of the neighboring cities. And unfortunately, before they had given their commitment to come on Thanksgiving, had put in to be on the list of people who could be called in to work the holiday for extra pay. And unfortunately, they don't actually tell these people if they have to go in until around 7 o'clock in the morning the day of. And unfortunately, they got called in. So, yeah, and they had forgotten that they put their name in when they said that they were going to come to be with us here. So we had a whole bunch of food. The food has lasted. Yeah, we finished our turkey yet last night. So between Thursday and yesterday for a approximately 10-ish pound turkey. That's how long that lasted us. We had our Portuguese peas. We had Just mostly the usual stuff. A sweet potato dish that has a whole bunch of like cinnamon topping with uh, marshmallows and such. It's a very sweet dish. That one always lasts longest. We had stuffing. I made mashed cauliflower. I added cheese to it this time, so it actually came out really nice. Um, an Ina Garden recipe for uh, an onion gravy, a very oniony gravy to have. So that was all nice. We had salad, of course. What else? What else was there? There was cranberry sauce. There was the a salad, like dessert salad dish that it's like extremely sweet with orange, and it's like a jello, and it had walnuts in it, crushed walnuts in it. Unfortunately, the walnuts that we have are somewhat expired at this point, as I'm joined by Dolly. Hello, my Dolly. So I didn't care so much for that one. We had pumpkin pie, homemade pumpkin pie that didn't also turn out that well. But also on the day of Thanksgiving, we had a bit of an issue, a bigger issue. We were supposed to have a dessert dish that had like a few like 3 layered dish. All right, the bottom layers are like this pretzel type layer, and the topping is a strawberry jello. It's like jello with sliced strawberries for the topper. Unfortunately, the container holding a lot of strawberries and not yet set jello slid in the refrigerator and spilled the entire contents down the whole front end of the refrigerator. So, that was fun. Cleaning that up. And being like the only person who can actually reach, who could actually reach in and help to clean the refrigerator. So yeah, that was great. Yeah, and just the whole, I done cleaning of the house, expecting a guest. We had cleaned out the fridge, had to clean the fridge again because of the strawberry falling all over the place, hitting the floor. And then we didn't have a guest. You just had the crack. Okay, now we know that this is doesn't seem to be hardware. It doesn't seem to be hardware. So I don't know what the problem would be on the software side of things. It's like the game isn't even running, so it's like I don't think it's a like system resources issue. It's not a you know what? I have semi an idea. It's just that I don't think that it's causing this issue, but I do need to update my BIOS. There's a little bit of an issue on Windows 11 with uh, my particular CPU motherboard Ryzen system, where occasionally there's like this hitch, an entire system like hitch, and it screws with audio output. Although that didn't exactly happen there with that crack, and it's related to the TPM because of course there's a whole bunch of issues related to the TPM, which is required for Windows 11. But oh well. There should be an update for BIOS that apparently that should fix that. That I still need to do. Um, but I don't think that's going to solve this cracking. But it's an issue I know about, and I know that there's a fix for. So outside of that, I don't know at this point what exactly is causing it. I have set things to match sample rate where I can. I'll yeah, but it's just huh? Why? Why? Like all the sample rates should be the same for the microphone and for the output, the audio, desktop audio. Like you don't even have desktop audio right now, so it's like okay, this is the microphone audio. Like, is it an issue with just XSplit and XSplit's audio processing? Because I do have like a noise gate through XSplit. It has built-in noise suppression, a noise gate, and a compressor, and I have those three things enabled. It also has a parametric equalizer, but I'm not using that one on it, and I don't have any VST plugins going. So it's just weird. It's odd. I don't know. I don't know, something's up. Something's up. I don't have control. Anyway, so that was like that was Thanksgiving. I was extremely sore the following day on Friday. Uh, I had to take pain pills because I was just wrecked that next day. I was wrecked the day of. I was more wrecked the next day, and yeah, needed a vacation from my vacation, holiday from the holiday, as per usual. And after all of that, I have bought a second turkey that I'm gonna cook like tomorrow. We had frozen turkey, by the way. We had bought that the weekend before, and it was all thought out, ready to go. Had made it. It turned out fine. Didn't really notice too much of a difference. It was there. Some of the breast meat was a little on the drier side, but it's mostly because I cooked it for 3 hours on a 10-pound turkey. It should have it was about 15, 20 minutes more than it should have been. So I'll just chalk it up to that. This next one is bigger. This next one's bigger. More like 13-ish. 13 and a half ish, so I hope it'll turn out a little bit better. And the way I make it, I stuff it with apple and onion and lemon and in this case I think it's just the sage and thyme, a whole packet of sage and thyme, and we're out of rosemary, but we had rosemary. Pack of that, and all that gets stuffed into the turkey while it roasts, and of course covered with butter, herb butter. Actually, have to take a stick of butter and add like Italian herbs into the butter. Make sure it's softened, and then rub it all over the turkey. And that's just the basic recipe that I follow for making the turkey. Which we got lucky on Thanksgiving Day itself, because I had completely forgotten about any of that outside of, the turkey when we went shopping. We just so happened to have all of those things in excess to use for the turkey. So, yeah, that was that. In not holiday news, yesterday I beat Pokemon Scarlet. Scarlet? No, Violet. I beat Violet. I will now be playing Scarlet on my DS on my Switch Lite. I'll be playing the other version on my Switch Lite so I can trade. I have to say, officially, I think that Scarlet and Violet are the best Pokemon games ever made. Full stop. They are also the technologically worst Pokemon games that have ever been made. Full stop. So it's just it's a weird dichotomy, but that's where we're at now, apparently, with Pokemon games, in that they released the best that they've ever done, and it's also the worst they've ever done. Still waiting on those updates to improve performance. I'm really hoping that they're cranking out some updates to improve the performance, because my god, it's awful. It is it is really awful. At the end of the game, after beating the game, before right before the credits roll, there's a little scene that plays. But to get to that scene that loads along with the credits, the game sits on a black screen for loading for over 2 minutes. To load, I guess it's the entirety of the cutscene and the credits at the same time. And it just sits there on a blank screen with no animation to say that it's loading. It just sits there for minutes. And I'm like, has this frozen? Like, what's going on? No, you have to let it go. And it will eventually load. Hello, my dolly. Yes, that's the baby. That's the baby dolly. Yeah, there we go. He's here joining. Yeah, so that's Pokemon Violet that I beat. Yeah, I really do enjoy the story of it. 3 stories, but hey, I liked it quite a bit. But performance is a big problem with it. So, Factorio. If you thought we were done talking, we're not done talking. And because we had updates. We had updates to the Pi Suite happen yesterday and today. So we have to go through some of these updates that have happened because they are significant. Basically, everything that we had gone through a little while back is now live. So things like the tar processing unit change, that's live now for everyone. You don't have to sneak your way onto the Pi community Discord and find a link to a Google Drive to download the beta version anymore. So I think we go all the way back here to 2.0.2. Because, yeah, between the beta patch, the patch that released yesterday, and the patch that released today, there's quite a few things to go over. Oh, boy. Yeah, so milk is now done in the barreling machine. They added missing caged Vraux to Arcod raising recipe. Great. A specific Arcod raising recipe. Added Muckmo manure recipes. Removed manure from Muckmo bedding recipes. Removed cage probability from Vraux and increased the output on most recipes, although they also reduced the output on the beginner recipe, the first recipe, in this post right here. This one, the next patch that we got live. Yeah, they made it so that the basic Vrauk is now 2 output instead of 4. So now in order to get 4, you have to give them food. Vrauk food. Apparently they added more Og manure recipes, etc., etc. We had tweaks to Zapier added these breeding recipes. By breeding, they mean being able to obtain additional Mark II, Mark III, and Mark IV versions of these creatures in a better way. In a better way. You can breed the Mark IIs, the Mark IIIs, and the Mark IVs to get more 2, 3, and 4s now. For these. The Moondrop, the Relesia, the Yadles, the Fish, the Nubbins, the Ziffo, Broad, Guar, Sponges, and Yotoi. Yeah, Vrock raising nerfed. They reduced the noise of the seaweed crop facility, apparently. And a few other not as useful things. They did disable unused technologies. Another crack, great. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, I don't have any control. So now that I know that it's happening, don't need to let me know anymore because it's just gonna happen, and I'm sorry. That's all I can say is I'm sorry. It's happening. I know it is extremely loud every time it happens. It's just that I can't do anything physically about it outside of, not stream. I mean, that's one way to fix it, is to just not talk ever. Although I'm sure there are some people who would rather prefer it that way. Yes, let's see. Oh yes, added steel furnace to the BOF and the casting unit, because that's totally an alien life thing. And no more farming modules in the labs. Yeah, so yeah, that steel furnace, huh? Added to BOFs and casting units now. Next up, we have alternative energy. Alternative energy. What do we have here? Some not as interesting stuff. They removed inner metallics from Reformer Mark 1, apparently. Added mechanical inserters for retorters, and fixed a thingy with icons. They have buffed anti-solar, because yes, anti-solar is a thing. It's moon. It's the moon. It's getting stuff power through moonlight, which is just a reflection of sunlight, but anyway. Yeah, the high pressure furnace, it's actually a 7x7 now. Major buffs to renewables, etc. Added yaw drive to wind turbines. I don't know what they mean by this. I didn't notice this as a thing, actually. Yeah, added new text for electric poles and substations and adjusted the recipes. This one's pretty big because this one now means that I am unable to continue making Nextlit power poles. At the end of last stream, I was able to begin making Nextlit power poles, and I did make about 300-ish, a little over 300 of them before this patch dropped. Now we can't make them because they are A, tech locked, and B, require stainless steel now. The tech lock doesn't matter because I have the recipe. The recipe is available. It's just now they need stainless steel. But they're otherwise supposed to now be locked behind PyScience 2. But they did make the medium power poles a little bit, I would say, easier to make. They don't require a alloy now. They require other things. They replaced one ingredient with 2 different ingredients. Added small parts to Shaft Mark 1 and adjusted other items in the recipe. So Shaft Mark 1 has been adjusted. They removed iron, Nextlit, antimony special alloy from gearboxes. They have replaced the small parts with shafts in the gearbox recipe. They have moved shafts, gearboxes, and brakes to the Automation 2 technology. I believe this is earlier. They have removed. It's either earlier or later. I don't care. Removed small parts and steam engines from automated factories and added gearboxes and shafts to automated factories. This is actually a really good change. In particular, as I've realized, as I did my transition to the bot-based mall, I've had a really hard time actually making automated factories, particularly because of the excessive iron requirement due to steam engines in particular. There are other changes that have been made that also actually help to smooth out some of the bottlenecks, and we will get to those here shortly. In the original PyCoal processing, they changed the tailings pond icons to not scale the building sides, fixed stuff. Tar processing unit has a new sprite and a larger collision box. Tailings pond holds more stuff. All this we sort of know about. They changed the landfill recipe to use 30 of each item instead of 50. They have boosted the speed of logs to wood in the wood processing units. They actually boosted this very, very considerably. We went from however many wood processing units I'm using in my current build to get like 15 out of like over 20 down to 3. Down to 3 needed for that build now. It's good. It's really good that this recipe has been improved in that way. Adjusted high pressure furnace 1 to be cheaper and unlocked earlier, as well as made it bigger. They also added gunpowder as a thing for magazines. So lots of things in the about adding gunpowder added into the various changelogs. They apparently fixed advanced foundries using outdated crafting speeds, so we'll see about that. High fusion! Adjustments to rock spawning, tweaks for gunpowder addition. That's all we really got there. High tech, tweaks for gunpowder and night effects to the electronics factory. Woohoo! High industry, we got disabled barrels at the start of the game, only available from the barreling machine. Adjusted the barreling machine speed from speed 2 to speed 1/2. So, they very much cut down the speed of the barreling machine. I would hope that this would be in preparation to convert the barreling machine to a Mark 1 through 4 setup. I would hope that there would be mark levels on the barreling machine with this sort of a change happening, but we shall see. Buffed Accumulator Mark 1 and 2, and added Construction Zone Expander building for Robot Network. So now you can expand your construction zones without adding to logistics zones, which is fantastic considering what phase of the game we are just now starting. I hope it's available. Although, I'm also thinking, actually, maybe I don't hope that it's available. Because there's issues, okay, with construction zone versus logistic zone expansion like that. It's a little weird how it behaves. Petroleum handling. And of course the bots are very slow at this point in the game. I don't know if I would actually want my construction bots building my rail network for me now. Definitely by the time we get to the Mark IIIs and the high-tech bots, by that point they're fast enough to build out my rail network for me, but at the beginning, not really. Not really, no. Alright, so they have moved recipes from the DDC to the new tar processing unit. They have moved the anthracene oil into carbon black to the reformer. Corrected a temperature on Steam, removed vanilla refinery. So now the recipe that was done in the vanilla refinery is done in the reformer. This is the previous changes that were in the beta patch going into the updates that just happened. Yeah, they made the reformer an easier recipe as well in order to get in to actually make them, because it was too expensive, and the carriage in is faster, etc., etc. I mean, the early splitter is called the mechanical inserter. There is an early splitter. It is called the mechanical inserter. Yeah, so you also get less coke from cracking pitch. They have, however, doubled the output of anthraquinone, or however the hell you say that name, in several recipes, quote-unquote several recipes. Tweaks for gunpowder, added coal gas from coal bed gas. So a different way of getting exclusively into coal gas, which is much appreciated. And then they added, apparently, fuel values for different tar fluids. I'm guessing this is like the oils and such, the medium, yeah, the medium oil output, I think, needed one. PyPros processing, I don't think this changed much. No, this hasn't updated. Raw ores, they fixed a double unlock. They've got the gunpowder tweaks. They changed the basic steel recipe. They changed the basic steel recipe. And then buffs to gear casting, energy usage of the electric arc furnace has increased even more. Great. Added night lights to some machines. Fixed sand classification double unlock. All right, and that should be that. That's it. We're done. We finally did it. We got through the patch notes. It's only like half an hour in to the stream, but we got there eventually. Welcome to the base. Well, welcome to the base as it currently stands. Last time we set up production of PyBots, logistic bots, after having gone through the effort of getting into nichrome, chromium, and a few other things, so that I could actually make my Logibots. And of course, began to terminate the boss and get ready for actually building a bot-based mall. This is my bot-based mall. As I had said I would do, I have left spacing to fit 4 buildings in total. And this is for the various mark levels of these buildings. Now, every single one of these buildings that I have in here right now are buildings that go all the way up to Mark 4. I'm pretty sure that all of these go all the way to Mark 4. There might be 1 or 2 that only go to 3, but they all have mark levels, including the collector. I saw this. This is brand new now. The collector for native flora has mark levels. That was not the case previously, but it is now. And of course, there's no point in placing the buildings that are going to eventually be there when it's a little bit expensive to make them. And of course, all of this random mess is, well, a random mess of individual buildings and such. There's like the data array in here. There's the burners, the various logistics buildings, including bots themselves, bots making bots, making my nanobot ammo, making all of the rail related things, making all of the mechanical parts related items except for mechanical parts themselves, and various other bits and pieces involved in like making various parts for the alternative energy buildings. Not like I'm actually making any of those buildings right now, although it apparently appears as if, after having set up steel furnaces and refined concrete, that I do now have some tidal buildings over here getting made. I have a tidal building. Hello, tidal power plant core. You are most definitely a thing that exists. How much power do you actually generate? I have no idea. It doesn't tell me. And it apparently outputs water. So it acts as a pump. But I guess makes energy as well. So that's a thing. Not like I particularly need energy right now, but okay. I will need to like get skin so I could build the VOTs if I wanted to build VOTs. I need melamine resin for the HOTS, the horizontal axis wind turbines. But otherwise, we are building. Building of things is going for the most part. Most of these are only limited down to 1 stack, though, so if I need more than 1 stack, not like they've all actually been built at this point, because I'm a little bit limited on circuits at the moment. Oh yeah, wood processing units. They are so nice. They are so nice now. I don't actually need to have that many stored up. I was like, oh yeah, the recipe's really slow. I should probably have a whole bunch of these stored up. Then they changed the recipe to make it faster to convert logs to wood. It's like, oh great, that's wonderful. And I totally had to bring down a line for logs. I still need to bring down the line for melamine, so there's a building that requires melamine that can't be built right now because I don't have the melamine provided. Yeah, the agitator. When I can make the agitator, I won't be able to actually make it until I provide it here. And apparently we need it for regular solar panels, but don't need those yet. We need it for blades and rotors. And we need melamine resin as melamine resin for nacelles. But other than that, we've got plenty of things. The problem right now is that I have a distinct lack of lead for solder. I happen to need more lead. A lot more lead. Considering this gets used 2 to 1, lead to tin, I'm making 2.5 tin per second, but I'm only making 1 lead plate. Yeah. So, because of that, I don't have as much rail as I would like. I have in grand total about 3.2 thousand units of the stuff, and yeah, let's just say I may need about that much just to even get my current setup going. So, rails. There is a lot to go over here, including, the fact that the high pressure furnace has changed, etc., etc., that the steel has changed. But we'll start with this. Okay, so the rails, I am using the foundation rails blueprints that I have always been using, as it turns out. It is the exact same as we have been using. It is, in fact, the exact same layout as I had used in our previous Pi series in terms of spacing. So we have gigantic squares that are spaced with a gap of 3 of these gigantic intersections. So in between each intersection is a gap that is precisely 3 of these intersections wide. And I think I had that centered. Yes, I have this centered here so I can make my fuel stop and get some iron going. Yeah, so the issue of doing this is that it does use a lot of rail for those large intersections to the point where I may have to not on the large intersections for the moment. I may have to remove them and use just the standard intersection to conserve my rail. Having it here is ideal because this will be the mall. This will be the mall train station. I really could use the increased throughput for the mall train station, which is a unique train station that is going to be fed, like, provided to the bots and stuff, and such. The thing is, I need to get into lead. And unfortunately, yeah, there's no nearby lead. I mean, there's lead way over here. There's lead over here. So, could I get over here? Probably. If I were to put a box in, it would look a bit like that. The problem is that the mall is going to take up probably at least this much area. Whatever. I'm gonna have my fuel stop in here, and I guess it'll just become integrated as part of my mall as time goes on, but we shall see about that. My current lead is all the way up here. So I would need some rail to get up there. Also, I have found a little bit more geothermal water, in case you're wondering. I was a little bit sad that all we had was these 3 up here. Now it appears we have another at least 4 that I have found revealed on the map. So that's always nice. But we need to continue by talking about the stuffs. We need to talk about the high pressure furnaces and how they have changed. High pressure furnaces are now embiggened. They are now a 7x7 entity. Which is a fair bit larger than previously. And unfortunately, they did not, the game did not scale them exactly as I had originally planned. It seems that it did grow an extra tile to the left and up that I was not expecting originally, but whatever, it's fine. So the way that the game handles this is that it does allow clipping for the inserters and any like belts and loaders, etc. So all of the buildings that currently exist work, with the only exceptions being the actual pipes. So anything that had a pipe or a fluid input or output, those do get immediately adjusted to the new size. So everything that dealt with fluids broke. I believe I have fixed them at this point, but yeah, things are like weird. They're weird. I should adjust this so that it's all proper like. That is not the recipe that you're supposed to be. I need you to be lime. Good old lime. It's overlapping because the building was updated and made larger, and that's just how the game imports this change. It imports the change by overlapping the buildings because they were adjacent to each other. Now I need another set of these. Like somewhere over here. Sure, why not? Just go there. Be there. It's fine. Everything is fine. I don't know about adjusting these for the ceramics. I should. And that, I guess, gets rid of that clipping as well. That it's a process that'll take a while to get rid of all the clipping. But there's things like up at this graphite up here. You can see all this is clipping, and that's just how the game handles it. It all works. It's completely functional for this particular recipe because there's no fluids involved here. So why would I go and bother changing that? Take the time to respace everything if it's working. What did break, however, was production of acetylene because of what we just saw with the lime. It has an output of CO2 that you need to get rid of, and that port changed with the new buildings. So yeah, and then we have a gas vent just clipped inside. In order to get rid of that, just make a deconstruction planner that whitelists the item that you want to delete. If I can find the gas vent on this list, there it is. And then you can go over it and you can have a bot get rid of the building. That's one way to do it. And then over here, I had to fix various, like, production of CO2. In here, I had to fix formaldehyde. That's what was causing my lack of circuits, by the way. It was killing my PCBs completely. So now I should be getting circuits slowly but surely down to the mall. And that will mean I'll have buildings available to me. So that was the big breaking change that I have now fixed. For the most part, I think I've covered all of them and fixed everything. And then we get into steel. Steel plate production has changed. The basic of basic recipes has changed. You can no longer convert iron plates into steel plates. That is gone. I forget what the ratio was. I think it was 10-1. What was it? Was it 10-1 or 5-1? I forget. I think it was 10 plates per steel. And then it was like 8 ore per iron on the basic recipe. So, like a ton of ore per steel plate. Now it's actually a little bit better. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is overall a better method of making steel. This also means that the Advanced Foundry doesn't need steel to build. The Advanced Foundry is significantly easier to make as a result of this change. It now only needs iron, copper cables, stone bricks, stone furnaces, and small parts, which is just more iron and copper. So no steel required here anymore. And that is fantastic considering how many of these we're going to need. It's fantastic because you need a lot of them to build at scale. I wish I had this recipe, for example, for all of this mess, the actual production of the belt of iron that I was making to begin with. Now, steel is no longer eating away at my yellow belt of iron production, the plates. Instead, I have mined additional iron. I went ahead and I doubled my iron mining by an additional 5 yellow belts. I have used Deadlock's compression to make this one compressed yellow belt, since it's 5-to-1 compression with Deadlocks by default. And I'm sort of using the vast majority of it, not all of it, but the vast majority of it, to make a grand total of 3 steel per second. 3 entire units of steel per second. Out of coke and limestone and iron ore. You may be wondering how the hell I'm getting the 15 coke per second that I would need to make this 3 steel. The limestone is simple. That's like hand wave, easy, simple. That's just space. What am I doing for coke? Among all of these changes that have happened was also a change on coke. Specifically, coke oven gas. Coke oven gas has changed to no longer require coal, it requires raw coal now. This literally changes everything. This completely changes all of your calculations, because now it's just using the raw resource. You no longer have to process the raw coal into coal, and then that into coke. Which actually makes this ratio of raw coal into coke extremely nice. It's extremely good. It's not the best. It's not the absolute best. The absolute best happens to be this process. See, if I did 15 here, it would be 18.52 raw coal to coke. But that ignores how you get the power for steam. It is worse if you're getting it out of like the raw coal steam engine recipe or the raw coal into boilers, regular boilers. Um, if you're doing like the molten salt, which is what I'm doing, it's a little bit different. To get the power for an electric turbine or an electric boiler, which, by the way, these electric boilers, even though they use 25 megawatts a piece to output their steam, it's actually really nice when you are doing molten salt power because the difference there is massive in the like fuel value conversion. Ah, my chair wants to like go back on me. So, if you're doing it this way and you're getting your steam or the power for the steam through either not raw coal or through an extremely efficient method of converting raw coal into power, this is the best overall. It is also quite complex, so you've got a balance here in that this is more complex to do, and it requires, 22 total buildings to do this, to get net 15 out, versus this process, which is simpler, which is 8 net buildings out, but uses more raw coal. That's like double the raw coal. So, you know, if you're on a map with more limited resources and you're trying to do things as efficiently as possible, this is something to look at and consider. However, you need coke oven gas for hot air because you need hot air. You have to do this 100% of the time for that coke oven gas. So I'm just doing this. Okay? I'm doing this, and this is what I'm using all of it on steel. I'm using every single little bit of it on steel right now. Although apparently there's a slight issue on the full 15. And it also appears as if I am completely backed up on steel, which is somewhat surprising, but we have other bottlenecks. That's all that it means, is we have different bottlenecks now. Over the weekend, the extended weekend over the break for Thanksgiving, it was hell. I spent so long just with the game running, doing absolutely nothing because I was limited by iron and steel. And iron for steel. And I like reprioritized my splitters on iron to get down to the mall first so that it would prioritize the iron at the mall and then the like small parts for the mall, and then eventually the steel as like the last item, the steel and the zinc as the last, based off of how I had it split. Now it doesn't even need plates. It's like, oh great. Wonderful. Wonderful. Great job. Great job. So, yeah, that's basic steel now. Of course, we want to get out of using this much coke for steel at this ratio. Like, this is still not a particularly good ratio. It does use 4 yellow belts of iron just to make 3. If I tried to do 4, it would need more than 5, so that's why I limited to 3. I could do like 3.75, but no. No, we're doing 3. And that's how that's going to be, because it's a nice even belt of coke required for that. So, It has been nearly an hour, and I have done zero gameplay whatsoever. This is a normal stream. I'm also making electronics. Electronics eat up like a whole bunch of stuff that's circuits. These are basically circuits. Okay, these are basically circuits, and the electronics are used for a grand total of one thing right now that I'm actually making, and that's nacelles, which need melamine resin anyway. So we're not even making them. I have the electronics, just need to get that melamine resin over here. Could make filter inserters if I made fast inserters, which I could make fast inserters. I just haven't like set it up yet to make the fast inserters. I have all of these things here, but their limitation will be circuits. Because of course it's going to be circuits. Like I don't have circuits. Oh yeah, I don't have the iron niobium alloy either. So yeah, that's the thing. Does the advanced foundry need circuits? No. The advanced foundry, as I said a little bit ago, is an extremely easy recipe now. By comparison to other buildings, it's a much easier, much earlier recipe. And considering how many you do need, it makes sense that it's this cost now. Since the push with Pi Alternative Energy is that it's going to give you the tools to do things faster, but those tools are going to come at a major power cost, which is going to push you into using the Pi Alternative Energy power sources. Ah yes, there's a couple hundred of these just hanging out in that chest. So I could just do that, and I could attempt to make these, but, you know, that iron niobium alloy I would need to make. I have a smelter in my car. I could just put down a smelter and tell them, hey, just do the thing. Just be like, hey, buddies, did you make some of these? That would be fantastic. Oh yeah, I have long-headed inserters now. That was a big thing. Pretty major milestone. Like, oh yeah, we've got these things now. It's glorious. Oh yeah, you need the fuel. Yes, let's give it fish oil. That sounds like a great idea. Fish oil which doesn't have a fuel value. What do I have available here? I do have the stuffs. Oh wow, that actually does reach all the way down. Oh, I'm realizing I don't have... I didn't have sound. I don't have sound. Like, any audio whatsoever. Settings? Like, default device? Did it change the default device on me? Did it change the default audio device? No. Weird. It should be this. Hey. Now, noise. There it is. There's sound. Much better. It's nice having sound. Don't know what happened with the game there. Oh, by the way, I've just finished off my coffee. My coffee for the day today that I've begun is from a bag of Starbucks Peppermint Mocha coffee. And it is definitely minty. I like a lot. Now we're going to limit this output so that we don't have to wait so much on stuff. There's something else that uses the iron niobium. There's more than just the fast inserters, I thought. I guess I'm wrong. So for now, it's only the fast inserters, but we also have red belts, but that's at stainless steel. So for now, just these guys. And it will be nice having them because these move at 864 degrees per second, as opposed to 432. So it is twice the speed of the yellow inserter. So if the yellow inserter is 1.2 per second, these would be 2.4 items per second. And I would like to replace everything in the mall with the blue inserters. Maybe. I don't know. For now, I'm not going to use them. I'm going to let it accrue. At least for the moment. And we are going to move on. We are going to play the game. So, speaking of playing the game. Rails. Welcome to Rail Land. I have a personal train. This is my personal train. The number of stuffs, inventory spaces in the cargo wagon, looks like it's been nerfed to 2 lines as opposed to 4. Pretty sure that these are supposed to default to 4 in vanilla, but we now only have 20. That's still a lot, to be completely honest. But when stack sizes are default at like 50 units, or much lower, I should say, for many, many things, I guess this is at least somewhat balanced now, considering there are upgrades. There's now a point to using upgraded wagons. So, first order of business is to build out a fuel stop. Now, do I have... I do have like 10 electric mining drills on me. I don't think I have any electric mining drills in my box. Where do I even make electric mining drills? Yeah, in this mess, they are here. I have 0. I have 0 because a whole bunch of buildings eat them. If I can find a building that eats them. See, this building eats them. It has 3 stored, though, so maybe something else is full. I should just do a search. Electric mining drill, which buildings do you make? The antimony drills. So let's go and grab... Great, you have 0. Because you've only made 4. Wonderful. What other buildings? The centrifuge, so this one is full. And it has a bunch. Okay. It has a bunch of... By the way, in case you hadn't noticed, the centrifuge uses 258 megawatts of power per building. Yes, that's megawatts per building. 258, huh? You know, like close to half my base. Oh, okay. So right down here, I'm going to build a modified train station that will take in raw coal, as a fuel stop. It will also, you know, be a raw coal provider. And since iron ore gets used as iron ore for other things, copper gets used as copper ore for other things, as does lead, apparently, and nickel. I think I'm going to have separated factories between mining and processing, so that I have my ores provided onto the train network. Might not need it for, like, zinc or certain specific ore types. Yeah, I do not need it on zinc ore. So where I mine zinc, I can process it. But there are ores. What about for tin? Yeah, I don't need to for tin, but I do need to for iron and copper and nickel and lead. At least that'll be the most convenient anyway. Since I don't have anything in my personal train at the moment, I'm going to use my car. This is my car! Hello, my car. Do you notice what I've done here? I gave myself a break. This is my brakes. Okay? So when I have to go up and down the bus, which let's sort of ignore what this looks like for a second. Let's just sort of ignore what this looks like for a second. Yeah, so when I have to drive up and down this, I come in pretty fast, and it's really difficult to brake, so I just bonk. And I can bonk at this at full speed, and it will not destroy the car. It also will not destroy the first layer of wall, so sort of overdid it on the number of layers of wall, I think, but it's fine. It's fine, it works. It works, and that's all that matters. Also, mine. The only problem is getting a way out of here, because I do need to get out of that area if I'm going to be building rails. Okay. Right down here. Step 1 is fuel stop 1. So I do use train supply manager, not logistics train manager, or whatever the heck it's called. Logistics train network, I should say. I definitely prefer TSM. Okay. Have I brought over, like, an actual... I have. So this is from my previous Pi series. For the train station part of it. Oh great, I need to landfill. Because of course I need to landfill. Why would I not need to landfill? I'm trying to think if I want this to be this way. And I think the answer is yes, because I will be adding raw coal directly to this. Yeah. Anyway, let's fill some water in. Oh boy, may need to fill more water in. Out this way. I'll also need to erase a bunch of ores. Of course. Ay, ay, ay. You. There we go. So this will get moved up and changed. Like, I don't need this at all. Bang. You know, there should be, yeah, these. Unfortunately, I'm not actually making science at the moment. I should have noted that earlier, but yeah, I'm not actually making science. This is also an old blueprint. I'll have to redo this because I should not be using any medium power poles like this. I mean, sure, I can have the radar. I don't need the radar either. Not there. I need a line of big power poles. There we go. Better. Yeah, so I'm at the phase of the game now where I am in the process of converting what's on my bus to be on the rails. And as mentioned, at the moment, I'm not actually making any logistics science because of that. At the moment, since I need a whole bunch of stuff for the mall itself. There are specific things, I think it was you, that I've stopped making because I happened to need... Did I really need plasmids for something? Wait, what? Why did I... You know what? It was because I purposefully cut off... I just happened to have chosen to cut off the plasmids. I cut this off because there was a thing in here that was eating up, like, iron or something that I had a major bottleneck of, and I needed to have a backup on a certain product. I think it was batteries, potentially. Yeah, there's just something in there that was eating up my stuff. Oh yeah, these things. The reproductive complex has changed. You are now required to throw in the creature modules in order for this building to function now. To this point, you did not need to have any modules in the building for it to operate, and the modules just made it faster. Yeah, you need it now in order to run. It doesn't really change all that much. Like, overall, it reduces the number of buildings that you need in total. But the Vrauk change? Oh god, the Vrauk change. I haven't even talked about that yet. Okay. Vrauk. Vrauk are now consistent. Like, they are now consistent with the other creatures in the game, in that they output uncaged creatures. And the breeding program uses uncaged creatures. Prior to the patch yesterday, they used caged creatures. Now it's all uncaged creatures, but, of course, as with the other slaughtering recipes that exist right now, you can only slaughter caged creatures. So you have to cage the creatures, and then you can slaughter them. and then cycle back the cages to get reused to cage the creatures again. It's really dumb. It's really dumb. Nothing should use caged creatures, and cages should be removed from the game entirely, but, you know, that's just how it is for now. Anyway, we have built this at this point, so what I wanted to do was actually just cut this. I didn't want to cut my radar. I need a regular train stop. Put there. Okay. You. Fuel stop 1. You, that is a requester stop. This needs to be a loading station. There we go. Yeah. Loco motive. Now, for this specific doohickey, it is very tempting to do loading and unloading. Why does it show like offset thingies? Whatever. So locomotives. For fuel, you can use basically any organic or, well, I guess it's all technically organic, but you can use organics here, as well as nuclear fuel, if you really so desired. You can use coal-based products that give you ash, which, oh yeah, speaking of ash, did you know that ash is radioactive? Did you know that coal ash from coal power plants is radioactive? And they produce more radioactive ash and like radioactive stuff than nuclear power plants produce radioactive material. And that stuff gets in the air and you breathe it in all the time. If you're next to a coal power plant, you are getting radioactive material in your lungs at all times. And yet people complain about an ever so slight, ever like much lower chance of something happening with nuclear power plants, of there being like a nuclear disaster. Like, excuse me, but actually, more people die annually due to the effects of coal power plants pollution than have ever died because of nuclear fallout. And just nuclear in general. Like, come on. So copy that setup down here as well. Because sure, why not? And then we have to kill ash too. So we need a few lines of doohickeys here. And fortunately, we've got spacing that is wonderful for this type of a setup. Yeah, this is perfect. This is perfect. It happens to fit how I build train stations precisely. I very much like that. Alright, well. Let us kill some resource patches here that I am not gonna use. Ever. Just cleaning it up off my minimap as best I can. Looks like I'm... And I'm gonna go all the way over here, off to the side. Should use my car, but not. Then the best part about rock coal. Best part about rock coal is that we've got this type of arrangement. Why do I not have small boxes? I could really use some small boxes. That would be great. Oh well. Yeah. Best part. Now, I have put these boxes in here because I now have a 10% productivity bonus. 10% productivity bonus. I still need 4, but it outputs 17.6. It outputs 17.6. Yes, I know I have to filter the ash, etc., but I'm not like there yet. So that's 1. That would be 2, but spacing. 3. Ugh, stuff. Things in my way. 4. Let's offset a bit. 5. So we're already at 5. Rock hole belts. Oh yeah, that's right. Do I want 8 going in here? Or do I want 16? Or do I want 20? Choices, choices, so many choices. Because if I want to load in on this side any amount of rock hole, yeah, I'd have to go like from below, and from above it'll use a bunch of space. Oh, I don't have that many mining drills, so I'll leave it at 5, I guess. I should just make it 4. We'll leave it at 4, and you know what? I will have 5 because the 5th will be the burners. 5 will be burners. Now the question is, do we want to add a compatibility mod for compression? There are actually multiple compatibility mods. I'm not sure which ones actually work versus don't work. But, yeah. At the moment, I do not have the ability to compress rock hole. So I would need to do multiple belt lines. Full on belt lines. Now, the reason to not do it is because I don't think any compatibility mod happened at the time that I started this series to have been updated yet so that the compressed coal-based fuels produced ash. I say that because compressed coal, stacked coal does not output ash. Actually, I have to look at it in Hellmod, I think. Where did I see that? Where did I see that? So, yeah, coal stack 5, burnable fuel 20 megajoules. No ash spent fuel product. Whereas coal, you can see on the tooltip there, coal spent result is ash. Stacked coal, no spent result. And another thing I don't know is if you can actually define it to output 5 units of ash either. Because you would think that a unit of a compressed stack of 5 would output ash. Or maybe output a compressed stack of ash. 5 units of ash if you're burning a stacked coal. So the main reason I didn't add a compatibility mod for stacking... Oh yeah, I don't have enough chests. Great. Was simply because it would have been too tempting to use the compressed belts directly as my fuel, since they have a fuel value. It would have been far, far too tempting to do that. I'm going to need to get more boxes. I can run the lines out, but I am going to need more boxes. I'm also going to need to bring these up. And over. Gee, I hope I have enough belt. I totally don't, by the way, so we do have to go back and restock. Yeah, we are now officially out of belt. Now, I technically do not have to balance these. So I won't. And the inputs and outputs here are going to go that 5th line. That's that 5th line. The rest are just to get onto the train network. Now, once I have this up and running, I don't have to worry about any other train that will exist on the network not being able to get fueled. So I can do whatever order I want after this. It's just that this needs to be the first actual station that exists, is the one that gives the fuel to all of the rest of the trains on the network. I had wanted to do iron mining next, for pretty obvious reasons, I would hope. I would hope that they're obvious. At the time I was planning this out, iron was my biggest bottleneck, but that is no longer my biggest bottleneck. My biggest bottleneck is now lead. So, we have the option, as our next order of business, of trying to run the train line up there to lead, or we're trying to run, like, train line out to whatever. There was a lead patch somewhere over here, right there. We could either run a line to lead, or we can just go out there and add to our belt input. And I think that's what I'm going to end up doing, is going out here, scaling my acetylene production, and scaling my mining, and scaling my lead output. Now, I was looking at lead, and I have decided that I am not going to upgrade to lead dust based lead. I'm not going to do the dust based lead. That would be, it would be a molten casting from lead dust. The reason for that is it doesn't actually offer a big enough improvement on the production of lead. It is required for the production of silver, but it does not offer me enough of a benefit over the previous recipe. It saves only about 25% of ore. It's not quite 25, it's like 23-ish. So, yeah, it goes down like 7 point something on the ore requirement for the 5 out. So, I'm going to keep it at this. Because I have all of these foundries now, I don't know if I have enough gasifiers or automated screeners. That is the problem. I just don't know if I have enough of those. I should put in a request for steel chests and use steel chests instead of iron chests, because I've got plenty of those, and I know that I have them because I've made these logistics chests, and the logistics chests require steel chests. Oh yeah, by the way, these things need circuits. As a reminder, individual wires, each individual wire uses an entire circuit. Which is, like, perhaps the most screw you thing that they could have done. That is my alarm to indicate that we are, in fact, halfway through today's stream. As Dolly decides now is the time to get up. By the way, is this camera even working? Yes, it is. Good. Good, that camera works. I was a little bit worried because what I have done is I have used the cable from the camera for this particular microphone today. And I had to use a different cable. It was actually the cable that I had with this microphone. Unfortunately, that cable is a little bit busted. It's busted. On the connector itself, it's like coming. It was overly bent to the point where it's like coming off of the socket. It's like coming off of the base of it. So it is not doing well. I do have enough gasifiers. What about the automated screeners? That's the one I'm worried about. Do I have enough automated screeners? I have 7 glorious automated screeners. So I do have everything that I would need. And I should be carrying around, yeah, I'm carrying around 30 high pressure furnaces. So I have enough of those. What I'm not carrying are any soil extractors. I am carrying 30 of them. I am just blind. So I have all of these things. I have more than 20 foundries. I've got the screeners. I've got... Oh, right. I need... Those do not use electric mining drills. Those use fluid mining drills. I need 8 more of them, of which I have enough. So I'm going to take a brief break here, now that we're halfway through the stream. When I come back, we're going to finish the rock hole, and then we're going to go up to lead to scale up the lead to 5. And that I've chosen on purpose to be 5 because my tin is 2.5 and solder is 2 lead to 1 tin with the current solder recipe. There are better solder recipes, different solder recipes, but for now, as I'm doing this transition, this will be fine. So I will be back in just a few minutes to do all those things. And I have returned. Welcome back. Let us finish the raw coal train station. I can find my car. There we go. And then head up to scale lead. And once I've scaled lead, ideally, I will find out quickly what my next bottleneck is, and that'll pretty much be how I handle the scaling of the train setup here of our rail system. It will be all about smashing as many bottlenecks as possible in the order in which they become a bottleneck, an issue. Alright, let's use the car. Make this a little bit faster here. Let's go. Now, you'll note I am carrying around 100 of these next slip power poles. These are quite limited at the moment, since they now require... Oh, has it locked it again? Or could I just not handcraft them? Probably that. They are supposedly locked. They are requiring stainless steel. Oh yeah, it relocked it, I think. Interesting. I think that the building that I had still has the recipe. Yeah, the building still has the recipe, and it's the updated recipe, but yeah, stainless steel. That's a bit of a problem. I have 214 of them in the chest with another 100 in my inventory, so 314 plus however many I've used here in the mall, 13 more. Hello, Ollie. Hello, big boy. Yeah, I can't really touch the camera to adjust the angle of the camera today, because if I do, it will disconnect because of that bad connection on the cable. Yeah, but we've got Ollie here now. We've got Ollie and the dolly. They're both here. Yeah, that's the babies. How's doll? How's that dolly? Yeah, so let me see here. Let me get myself sorted on the side and then go and get steel chests in place in here. There we go. That sounds a lot better. And run this down. So, you know, not that bad, not that big a deal for this. We don't really need to use Deadlock's compression, although it would come in handy for these specific situations. The question is, where do I want to do the voiding? I think we'll just do it here. I think, God, I can't. I'm still on Dyson Sphere mode, and I keep hitting O. Huh. Yeah, this blueprint doesn't work quite anymore, so let's get rid of that. That was the hot air blueprint that is no longer relevant because it changed. We no longer need coal. Alright, this is ash, and this is the raw coal. Oh yeah, I'm not carrying around small power poles anymore, so I have to upgrade this blueprint. Yeah, he's grooming. Ollie's grooming, and now he's running. He's running! He's a-running! Yeah, that's a bit better. That's better. Yeah, I can live with this. As the updated blueprint. Fill the gap, sure. Da-da-da-da-da, so I won't need you or you. Alright. Combine. And output to there. Alright, that is, as they say, that. That is that. That will automatically provide me with stuff and things. Fuel for my stuffs. This will fill up 3 things of 50. And they will output their ash up to 50 ash. I have to whitelist ash on... Oh, right. Right, I don't need to whitelist ash. What am I thinking? I don't need to. Because it works. It just works, okay? It just works with locomotives. The inserters are smart enough on locomotives, for whatever reason, to load fuel and then not output the fuel from the locomotive, but to output spent fuels from locomotives. It's never been a thing that you've had to do, or that I've had to do in the past, because I've previously in mods, I have had similar setups with trains that use fuels that output a waste product. I'm thinking like Bob's nuclear trains, I think, something like that along those lines. Nuclear trains that would output the used fuel rod things. And yeah, we didn't have to worry about it then, about it loading in the fuel and then trying to offload the fuel. At least it better work. We'll find out if it doesn't, and I can fix it quickly. It's better to find out this information sooner, earlier, where there are fewer trains running. So we've got, yeah, we have supply, rock hole, depot, rock hole, full cargo, circuit condition. And we are off to the races. Our first active locomotive gonna be set to raw coal, if I can remember where that is. Right there. Depot for raw coal. Ta-da. First train. Now, it's not being used anywhere, but, yeah, we don't need to worry about it anymore. And frankly, since coke is a one-step process from raw coal, I might not have to worry so much about having a dedicated factory that's going to make the raw coal into coke at this point. But we do have access at this point to red hot coke processing. That is a process that I want to do, as I want to bring up Hellmod this time. Because this is supposed to be more efficient at producing coke. So if I want 15 coke, that's going to require 12 coal, which, at this point in the game, we now have access to coal out of the green science level of raw coal processing. We need matrix solver. So in this case, you can convert 9.17 raw coal into a yellow belt of coke by doing red hot coke processing. And that's with using coal as the fuel for the furnace, the BOF. Yeah, big difference there. If you compare that to the direct recipe here, you see that's 37.5 raw coal. You see that this processing is 18.52, and then you get here, this is 9.17. So this will always be worth doing overall if you're looking for coke, and if you're looking for 500-degree coke oven gas. Because let's keep in mind, this is outputting 30 500-degree coke oven gas. No, that's not what I want. That is definitely not what I want. So, the thing about this though, I was looking into this. We have the ability to reheat with a molten salt process coke oven gas from under 500C to 500C. Exactly. So we don't have to use this as a primary source of coke oven gas. to feed in to a hot air setup that is producing hot air from the warmer stone brick process. It is actually much easier now overall, I think. Yeah, I haven't even adjusted this for the coke. Yeah, I haven't even adjusted this for the new rock hole to coke recipe. So now to get 100 hot air, those are some pretty decent numbers. I don't know about you, but I think that these are some pretty decent numbers outside of the fact that you do have to spend a lot of resources per coal power plant. This is very reasonable. This is great. I like this. I like this a lot, actually. So the way that this works is you are reheating coke oven gas that's, below 100C, or equal to 100C, up to 500. But you don't need to feed in 500. You do get less output than what you put in by doing this. But you can feed in extra 250 rather than extra 500. Like this is clearly more efficient. In my mind. To do it this way, rather than just make 500C to begin with. In particular, because it's not like you can start with the warmer stone bricks in the first place. You always have to start here on warm stone bricks. Right? You have to start warm. I mean, you could start with the 500 if you wanted to. If you were making 500, you could start and use the 500 and do this as a first step. But where are your warm bricks to convert to warmer bricks? Like you need to make warm bricks first and step up the chain. You can't step down the chain. So yeah, you have to do this, throw in the 250. You have to throw in your 250, get out 100, heat up the 100 to 500 at a little bit of a loss, and then throw the 500 in with the warm bricks that you've made to make warmer bricks. That outputs 250, that cycles back that 250 to make warm bricks, that then makes 100, that cycles back down to make the 500 again. Interesting. It's an interesting logistical challenge, but it's completely doable. It doesn't consume any stone bricks. It outputs some ash that you have to deal with from the coal power plant stuff here. Now, that being said, oh my god, that is so much power that you could have otherwise used as power to do this. Let's keep this in mind. This may say 8.8 megajoules, but the opportunity cost here is excessive. Okay? You're talking about using 1 2/3, the entire output of 1 2/3 of your coal power plant. Like, that is a lot of power that you could have made out of this instead. It's why I've never liked the reheating of coke oven gas to begin with. The only saving grace is that, okay, but it's just so good to begin with that you will have, you have the power. Like, the power itself is, I hesitate to say it, but it is pointless to consider that as an opportunity cost, since you're doing it anyway. Like, you're doing it anyway. You're just building a couple of additional coal power plants. It's not like it's an either or situation. Like, yeah, you could have made a bunch more power, but there's no, it's not even part of the equation. Like, do you need to have used it for power? No. No. Like, it's only an actual opportunity cost if it's actually costing you something. Like, yeah, you could have used it for more power, or I could just make more coal power plants and use more raw coal and make more power from those coal power plants. I'm like, you're not limited by anything. Just make more. If you need the power, just it's like you're still gonna do it that way, just different coal power plants. I would say it's better that it's not using energy directly. And nothing's stopping you from, like, overflowing into energy if you wanted to, as dangerous as that is. Oh, there's another geothermal there. I didn't even notice you. I didn't even notice this lone geothermal node out there. Which is actually how it's supposed to spawn. Gee, I hope I'm not leaving anything important behind. He says with only 465 units of belts. I mean, I can go back and grab a bunch of belt off of my mall if I really need to. So this isn't operating because why? Like, I should have had enough stuff in here. These are backed up, so they're holding onto a bunch of fuel. So this is fine. This is fine. Yes, everything is awesome. It's just backed up, and that's how it behaves when it's backed up. I did have to adjust this. Yeah, high pressure furnace. This high pressure furnace I needed to shift over a tile for chromium to keep that going. Yet another random high pressure furnace out there that needed fixing. We've had a few of those so far. By the way, I did not need 6 automated screeners because I'm upgrading an existing setup that is exactly this setup over here on lead. So I already have the initial infrastructure. We're just adding to it. Already had 2. Need to upgrade to 6. 3, 4. 5, 6. I can use better power poles. There we go. That'll do. And then we need 10 fluid mining drills. Providing 10 lead ore, so I do need 2 lines here. Oh, right, 10% mining productivity, so it's our good friend. Time for our good friend. The box. The box. Glorious box. And power, in fact. Aw, that's only 2. Dang. It would have been nice to be able to fit a medium power pole in here, but unfortunately, can't. Okay, so that has to go up a tile. And from here, I can scale 8, 10. There we go. So now, make make it so that I have 20 of these. Might not want to have 20 in a single line. We can do 2 lines of 10. Water must die a horrible and painful death. There we go. I will need to provide a lot of power and do a bunch of splitting, etc., etc. Da-da-da-da-dum. Off we go down here. And then provide that. And you down there. You get that. Now I need more acetylene. This is going to use all of it. Okay, acetylene scaling. Oh joy, oh bliss. So we need 5 of these things. Ta-da. 5. I only need the 1 lime. I will need 4 of these. Right, so how much coke is here? Because I had it this other way, which is actually slightly more efficient, but I don't need to do it this way. I could just use raw coal as raw coal, and I have. Wouldn't you know it? I have raw coal that I could use for this. Actually, I'm not too sure if I can use it for this. Looks like it. It actually looks like I'm not using this raw coal for much of anything. I'm using it here. And I think it goes down, I'm using it, yeah, here. For byproduct killing. So I can spare the however much. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, then. Right, I haven't adjusted these. I need to adjust these. Yeah, it's time. It's time to adjust. Okay. Break them. Okay. Now, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do this exactly? So, previously in this type of a setup, I think I actually had them like so. Because I think this is an exact ratio of 1 to 4. Is it 1 to 4? It's 1 lime per 5. And this makes 10 lime. Ah. 10 lime at 2 per second. It's 2 per second, and this uses, yeah, half. So it is 1 to 4 ratio. Now, it outputs 2.5 and it inputs 1.75, so this is where it gets a little bit more interesting on the splits and the outputs. Also, I don't like this new sprite. I wanna make this apparent, clear. I don't like this new sprite at all. Why? Because it blocks vision of what's above the building. I don't like any sprite that blocks the vision above the building. It doesn't matter how quality it is. If it's blocking the vision above the building, screw it in its entirety. Very badly designed. Like, the Factorio developers put a lot of time and effort into the design of their buildings specifically so that they did not block vision of the tile directly above the building. And in this case, when you are blocking vision of 3 tiles above the building, just screw you at that point. Just screw you. And this is not the most egregious of buildings that does this, but it's another one on top of so many at this point. The irony being that this setup has used less space than it was using. Like, if you're going to take the time to redo a building's sprites, at least make them better in the process. Like, don't make them objectively worse. Now, I say that the original building had its problems too. The original building had a pretty big problem as well, because the base of the building was actually set too low in the sprite. And the actual building extended a little further than you would think that it extended. But, I mean, come on, like, this is fine. This building is fine. The gasifier? Yeah, you can tell where the edges are on this building. Like, you can sort of tell a little bit better where the edges are here, but it's completely blocking all of the vision of what's above the building on each side. Like, ugh. Having a tiny little bit like this is fine for things like the soil extractor. Like, having a little bit go over is fine, but having freaking an entire building, multiple buildings worth of extra space from the sprite is just disgusting. Now, all of this, the entire thing can be shortened. Like, the entire thing needs to be shortened. And I think the perspective is a little bit off as well. Anyway, I need to adjust these a bit more, because this can now hug the rest of the buildings. Oh right, I am auto-trashing. I am auto-trashing many things, so let's see. Do I want... You use 1.25. Gee, thanks. That would mean having 2 yellow inserters. I'm not going to replace... I'm going to have to replace... Well, so much for having power above. No point in having you up there. I don't have enough mechanical inserters on me. It's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need 8. You have 8. I think the barreling machine does this as well. I don't like the barreling machine's graphics because it does it as well. If I can find one somewhere. I know where there's one. There's one up at gas. Yeah, this barreling machine. Like, what the hell? It extends like 50% above the actual bounds of the building on this sprite. Like, excuse me? So it makes it that it's really, really difficult to tell exactly where the actual bounding box is of this building. This is a 3x3 entity currently. And it has this weird situation. I think when I initially built this, I had built it a tile too tall or a tile higher than I did, and it wasn't working. I'm like, why isn't this working? Like, oh, well, that's because it's lower. And yeah, DDCs can be a little bit problematic with how far it extends up, but at least it's not the whole thing. It's still, I still don't, I just still don't like it being that tall. Yeah, this guy. Yeah, the reformer. Have you actually looked at the reformer? Because that's blocking tiles over a huge part of the screen there. Yeah, see, this is better. This is much better. This retorter building, that's fine. Jaw crushers are fine. Soil extractors are fine. It's not like all the buildings are blocking a whole bunch of vision on you, but certain ones, the DDC and a bunch of the Pi petroleum handling buildings, they have really tall towers that completely block your vision. Like even this chip shooter blocks your vision too much. Anyway, I need to scale up this coke now. How many? Okay, I do have some electric mining drills, so I can do this fine over here. Let's go ahead and replace all of this. Yeah, it's all of this, right? Yeah, I do believe it's the entire thing that is going to just get replaced. So here's how we'll do it. We'll take this line down, and I will need more, because this is a slightly less efficient method, but oh well. Autosave is autosaving. Not gonna bother with the chests. Alright, we need 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could do more. I could do a 6th. So that way, technically, I'm using both lines. I have this. I can copy this. Hello. Just copy that. Flip it. There we go. power it. These poles are not in good positions. And vent it. Vent it all! Build this. Build this, please. Alright. Okay. You wanna do it that way, huh? Well, here's what I'll do. In that case. Glorious belt is now mine. I could grab more, but whatever. It's fine. Everything is awesome, not like I need this 6-1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this to input priority from the right, so that all of this belt can clear. And then, of course, I can, you know, delete and recover all of this belt in here. And these buildings are expensive. How much does a blue inserter output? The blue inserter is twice that of the yellow, so it would be 2.4 items per second. And it would be 4 times faster than the mechanical inserter, which is 0.6. I'm gonna run out of inventory space. Ah, you don't have power. Great. Well, I'll pick you up. Speaking of blue inserters, this entire time we've been ideally crafting a whole bunch. And I think that my power should be dead. Yeah, my power is dead. My power is alive. You thought it was 2.5? So a lot of things get adjusted in PyMods. This is 864 degrees per second. If you do 864 divided by 360, you get 2.4. Now, granted, in reality, it is likely closer to 2.5, or it might be 2.5, because it's not like it has to do the entire 360 degrees with every swing. I don't think it quite does the full half rotation, depending on which direction the thing swings. It's funky. It's weird. Inserters are weird in how they behave. Yes, that looks correct. I want all of this belt. And that's it. I don't want anything else clogging up my inventory. So that should be the lead scaled. How many total hours do I have in Factorio these days? 4,959, according to Steam. Of course, I did spend a while not on Steam. So, you know, we're pushing 5,000. Just a casual 5,000. Yeah, get rid of some of that trash slot stuff. I think we're set to head on back to the mall now. I think we're good. That's gonna vastly improve my potential solder production to the point where I'm probably not able to make the solder fast enough. It will take a good while, though, for the improved lead to make its way physically all the way down the lines to the mall. I highly doubt that the lead that has been scaled has made it quite the way down yet. Looks like we've potentially gotten a decent way, though. Oh yeah, and that's gonna improve the actual solder that's going down the bus as well. You know, I've never really liked the idea of comparing price to time spent on a video game, because it doesn't tell the whole story. Like, how much of that time was actually enjoyable time? And how much was it spent just letting the game run and not even being there? You know? Like, you have to compare enjoyable time to the price. Of which Factorio absolutely has an amazing enjoyable time to price ratio. But not all games that are 100 plus hours are enjoyable 100 plus hours experiences. Bang. Ah, the wall doing what it was designed for. Okay, so what's next? I don't know. At this point. Basically, once I do get the lead in some abundance, I see that it has not gone beyond the 1 per second that was supposed to come down here. In fact, we've actually got nothing at this moment in time. I don't really care about the DLC. I don't think there's going to be anything that they can add into the game that mods haven't already done and done better than anything the developers could add. Like, part of me wished that they were just working on a Factorio 2 rather than adding DLC to this. Like, the whole point of mods. Mods are your DLC. Just give us a better game. I am absolutely enjoying the alternative energy stuff and all the additional changes that have come with it. Like, this is a better experience than previously, than before PyAE and all the balance updates. Better and smoother overall experience. I need to get rid of some trash and throw some things in the car, I think. What would I change about Vanilla Factorio for Factorio 2? Well, I mean, there's always the graphics side of things can always be improved. I mean, you are still dealing with a 2D game, fundamentally, and I don't think that they should make it a 3D game. Now, there are aspects of the abstraction that they do that can be de-abstracted a little bit. They could make it a little bit more complex for a Factorio 2. I would like to see some semblance of reality on plate manufacturing, for example. Not quite to the degree of a Pyanton's mods, but still just at least make the attempt to have some semblance of reality. I would fix the colors of iron and copper. That would be great. You know, fixing those ore types and how they look. Yeah, you know, because iron's totally red and copper's totally blue-green. They're not... Iron isn't blue and copper isn't red. Not as ore. I'd actually have a working fluid system. That would be great. Having an actual working fluid system that makes sense. Yeah, that would be fantastic for a Factorio 2. Like have some sort of an expanded nuclear as well. Nuclear is actually really too easy. I mean, there are plenty of opportunities to add to the experience in a Factorio 2. Like, it should be a Factorio, but better. More of it. Take what you have and make more. I mean, think of what they did with Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. 1 into 2. They're basically just the same game, except 2 has a few quality of life improvements. And all of the scenarios are different, updated, more of it. Fundamentally, the same core is there. And it's like, that's what I'd rather see out of a Factorio 2. Like, give us scenarios. Give us a whole bunch of new scenarios. Ways in which that we have to build a base that are different. Make it so that you can't build something ever as a scenario. Like a scenario where you can't use fossil fuels at all. Just have only renewables. Hell, add renewables to the game. Beyond solar. Like, add wind. Add, like, a functional wind power mechanic into the game. And have a scenario around having to do that for your entire base. Or some segment of the gameplay that doesn't require the whole freaking base being out of wind, but anyway. There's lots of ideas, there's lots of things that you could do on a sequel to the game. Like, I am not one of those people. Like, I am not a Quill 18, alright? I do not like when a single game gets infinity amounts of DLC over the course of 10 plus years. I want them to make a better game. I want them to take the time and make a better experience and improve the game and iterate with new games rather than DLC for existing games. I despise the Paradox business model of releasing hundreds and hundreds and over $1,000 of DLC for a single game over time. Speaking of which, I've been watching him playing EVE Online lately, and it's made me tempted to try EVE Online again, but I realize if I ever did play EVE Online again, what would I be spending my time doing? Solo mining. I would be solo mining the entire time for hours and hours and hours a day, and I would do nothing else. And so I cannot ever return to playing EVE Online, because that is what my life will be. Just solo mining in high sec for hours and 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 hours a day. How do I know? Because that's what I did when I last played EVE Online. Originally played EVE Online. I even made multiple accounts to continue mining solo, just with more ships. Like, I was a one-man mining operation. And at my highest, I had an account with an orca on it to buff my mining, and a couple of miners, and a dedicated hauler account that was moving the stuff back to station. And I had one with a freaking Fenrir freighter to get all the stuff that I mined out to Jita and sold it there. Probably shouldn't have sold it there, but I sold it there anyway. But that was a long time ago. Back in the days where people who were in your corporation could freely kill other people within your corporation. Thank you so much for that, costing me an entire orca. It was a few months later that they added that option into the game where you could disable combat between members of your own corporation, because that was totally a thing back then. People would apply to join corporations with the entire intent of finding and killing other people within that corporation. Anyway. Stuff and things. What are we doing going forward here? It seems, has the lead finally arrived? Lead has arrived! Lead hath arrived, and we are now using more logistics bots. They are picking up everything in the box, and I believe that pretty much all of this lead should be going down to make solder. Some of it is going to get used in producing tanks, because a lot of the tanks eat lead, but I think I am full on all these tanks buffers, because I have every size of Pi tank in here. Oh, I want to mention something. Yeah, I really need to mention this. So, where is it? Shafts. Shafts. Mark 1 shafts. Way back here. Yes, they eat solder, for one, but with the change to gearboxes, needing shafts, and with the actual assembling machine now needing shafts, that is going to be an extremely major bottleneck because this recipe is way, way, way too slow. This recipe is way too slow. It's 5 times slower than the gearbox recipe. Like, and the brakes is too slow, frankly. Like, there's no reason for these recipes to be taking 50 seconds craft time. Even 20-second craft time. That's like the upper end of a recipe, what a recipe should be. There's no reason for this to be 50. Like, come on. I really hate having to dedicate more than one building in my mall to a single thing, despite having to do that with the solder at the moment, even though solder is a 4-second craft time. I believe I have 3 buildings doing this, and yeah, I'm gonna want more. Okay. Add more. All these wonderful buildings that I was going to use for other things, yeah, that's solder now. I will take that stack of glorious fast inserters. So now all I have to do is hurry up and wait, I think. That's what I need to do now, is hurry up and wait. We have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 units of rail to work with. At this point, what can we do for the rest of the stream? Well, we're going to start working on getting the stuff that's on the bus on the train network. That's what we need to do. Now that I have my rail production sped up at least somewhat by scaling up the lead out here and, you know, scaling up the acetylene, which, by the way, just a BTW, acetylene has a fuel value of 1 megajoule, right? You know, I probably should have scaled this a little bit more, because I'm not gonna get... because I don't have enough for the titanium. You know, I didn't think about the small amount I was going to need for the titanium mining. Oops. Oops. Well, it's a good thing I overdid it on the coke. The point I was going to make is that this could be a relatively easy thing to make at this phase of the game, for use as a fluid fuel for things. It's still expensive, yes, technically speaking, but from a complexity standpoint, it's not extremely complex to do this. The science hasn't been moving on purpose. I did talk about it, yes. And it is because the mall eats literally everything. But in particular, I was trying to conserve some ingredients. Mostly iron, I think it was... what was it? I think it was batteries I was trying to not consume because they were eating something important. I have completely forgotten what. Maybe it wasn't batteries, but something else. Oh yeah, it was the iron. It was the iron, but you know what? I don't have that as a bottleneck anymore, so I can turn it back on if I really wanted to. And I should have enough of a buffer of the other stuff for it to not be a problem. Is over here, the plasmids. Yeah, so just feeding that back into here should make this move again. It's only going to be 0.2 per second, but whatever. It's fine. And then for PyScience, while I think it's still technically moving, I have 9.6k in a box right now, and the automation science I've got 2.9k in a box here. That one, I believe I also stopped because of the iron problem. And I can turn it on again for now if I really need to. I mean, it's just gonna tick slowly, really slowly. Yeah, I did cut that. And it was all because I was needing a whole bunch of iron and a whole bunch of steel at the same time. So I can go and I can turn that production back on. I mean, I could always just reverse the belt of what's here at the mall, because I did end up putting a whole bunch of stuff in boxes, including the science. Did I? Yes, including the science. There's like 9.6k in a box just for the science. So let's go get that turned on, technically, so I can have the tech moving while we go through these next couple of days until Thursday's stream. Not exactly sure what we're going to do on Thursday's stream outside of more of the same, and it's going to be that way for quite a bit of time as I work on getting the stuff that's on my bus off of my bus. I mean, there's really nothing else I can do. Like, progressing isn't on my top of mind. There are things that we could do to progress from a technical standpoint, but there's also a certain minimal number of things I need to get on the train network. And in the past, oh god, I've gone way too far. In the past, I have been able to have this split where we do progression, and off screen I don't need that one. And off screen I would work on, excuse me, it did the thing. Okay, so I do have science. I would work on new things. So if we want to look at new things that we can do going forward, rather than on upgrading specific systems, like iron, we could upgrade iron to unslimed iron processing together, or we could just not. I mean, do you want to see me do unslimed iron? Because it hasn't really changed all that much. Maybe some of the numbers have changed, but the actual process itself, yeah, that has not changed in the slightest. And I have entire video tutorials going over various Pi raw ores processes. Bang. And I've got unslimed iron over here. Yeah, this is unslimed iron processing. You can take 9.38 ore and make 15 plates out of it through the unslimed iron process. It does use 100 megajoules per yellow belt of iron plates that you want. And I do have access to the molten steel as well, but I mean, I hope that you get some idea here of the amount of effort that this would take. Because for this, in order to do unslimed iron, I have to have on the train network borax and hot air. We have the rock hole, and I need to get on iron ore, and I need to be able to make sand castings, which effectively rock hole, for all intents and purposes, effectively just rock hole. It's creosote and sand into sand castings, but creosote is from processed tar, which in and of itself is from processed other things. Oh yeah, I can just get it out of small parts and drilling fluid these days. I forgot about that. And I can directly extract it from the ground, but no. But no. Not happening. Not happening. So, anyway, I would have to have, like, a factory producing creosote, potentially even a factory making sand castings, a factory for hot air, a factory for borax. Like, you get the point here? Am I going to overbuild items on the train network? Or only build what I need? I am going to overbuild everything. Everything is going to be designed around the concept of either belts, like belt outputs, not individual item outputs, for the exception of like some things that are designed to not be full belt outputs, like science, like science, and specific things like bio samples. Like, no, there's no chance in hell that I would plan around having a belt of bio samples of output. I would have multiple belts of native flora out. You might see me swing a belt of steel out, or a belt of glass, a belt of lead, or a belt of titanium eventually, but the belt of biosamples would require so much more in addition. Like that, yeah, just not gonna happen. But I am going to plan around having a lot more scale than even what I've done now on all these other things. So the question is, do we want to see this unslimed iron again, since it hasn't really changed across all of time, basically? Like, none of these raw ore processes have fundamentally changed outside of maybe some differences in numbers, and that's about it. Numbers change, processes don't. How you get hot air changes, but not the fact that you need hot air. Okay, I'm going to start mining iron. In fact, I'm going to need to request more and build more mining drills. Find more from somewhere. Bang. Let's get some iron ore. That'll be our next little factory that I build on here. I need this blueprint. Actually, no. I need this. I need this blueprint without any belts. And without all of this down here. So get rid of all of the inserters. Get rid of all of the burners. Gosh, it's really hard to see sometimes with these. There might be more I want to get rid of, but otherwise... Right, I shouldn't have this, because this spacing is off, unless I want to just have, like, a bypass line, and just have this be a bypass line. Like, always. I think that would work. That works. Do not save train stop names. And let's build this. But yeah, when I do unslimed iron, there's no chance in hell that I'm doing 15 unslimed iron. I'm... Did I just... Weird. I don't know how a fluid mining drill ended up down there. There was a ghost entity for a fluid mining drill. Don't know how that got there. My plan would be to make at least 4 or 5 belts of iron when doing the unslimed iron process. Like, having the plan there for the 1, that is only the beginning. We're going to need more than 1. Like, I was really constricted by even having 1 as buffers were starting to fill up in the mall. Like, it took a really long time of just doing nothing to fill up the buffers that I have at the moment. But of course, that was before the change to steel, so... The steel change is quite welcome. Also, trees! I found more trees! Can you believe it? We have trees! An entire forest of trees! All wintry trees. I wish I had known. Way back up here, when we were at our beginning base up here, that all the way down here there were trees! But no, I did find closer trees down here and over here and over here. But no, there's some right here. Oh look, more water. More water getting rid of my ore. Making it harder for me to actually mine this ore. How many belts of ore am I going to have? Yes. Ultimately, the answer will be yes. And this is iron, so I have access to compression on iron. Meaning if I really wanted to, I could compress this iron and have 8 belts of compressed iron, 16 belts of compressed iron. Up, like, more like, you could fit 20. You could fit 20 belts of an item with my bulk rail loaders. The issue is that I would never actually see that level of throughput with the bulk rail loaders, with the size of the stack and with the size of the like inventory spaces inside of the wagons. But I do actually think that I will move the compressed ore. I don't think I have like the handcrafting, like unstacking, so I can't see what the stack size is of the ore unless I pick some up. Oh, and don't I have auto do I have auto decompress on? I don't think I do. I do not. Okay. There is a setting that you can set in here that will automatically unstack items that you picked up. Oh, apparently we are not hiding the unstacked recipes. So it is a stack. Oh, it tells me the unstacked. Of course, it doesn't tell me the stacked item. Great. Oh well. Stacked. Two, 3, 4. Five. I know how many items in a stacked item. I know that it's 5 to 1. My question is, how many items of a stacked item can fill an inventory space's stack of stacked items? Because it's supposed to be 1/5. It is supposed to be 1/5. But I am uncertain. Because it's supposed to be extra belt compression, not extra inventory compression. So I would logically think that it should be 5, yeah. But we'll see. Because the iron stack is 50. So the stacked iron stack should be, actually not 50, it should, or not 5, it should be 10. It should be 10 items. And since this is the only thing I have for now, I will need to split. And it is 4 belts. So my thought is it should be 10 items per stack for the stacked iron. Let's see. I grab a couple here. It is in fact 10. It said on the tooltip that it is 10 items per stack. So, moving on trains, stacked items is the same as the unstacked items in terms of density per stack. However, it's still beneficial because of inserter swings. You know, you're saving on quote-unquote inserter swings. It doesn't really save too much with the loaders, but I mean, it does improve how much stuff, iron or equivalent, you can move per loader, right? Like per loader, per inserter, etc. on the input and on the output by using the stacked items. It only affects the inventory density. The inventory density is the same. Regardless of whether or not it's stacked. Oh right, I haven't grabbed any rock coal, have I? In fact, I auto-trash rock coal, don't I? Yeah, I should probably hold on to, like, a couple stacks. Like 4 stacks, at least. At least I can go over here and just grab some. Yoink, 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 yoink. There, 4 stacks of rock coal. Oh, and those numbers, by the way, are all configurable in terms of the amount of compression per belt. You can configure that to be whatever you want in the mod settings. For deadlocks stacking, the stack size here, you can change this number from a list of numbers, but I don't think there's anything stopping you from going into the mod itself and changing the number to whatever number you want on the stack size. It is not recommended to change this setting for existing saved games. Stacked items will lose inventory density when this is configured to a number their stack sizes don't divide evenly by. Okay, those are words. Those are definitely words. Alrighty then. Da 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 da. Supply iron ore. Depot iron ore. Supply depot full cargo circuit ignition auto magic, and it is set to go and refuel when it gets the chance, because it wants to hold a certain amount of fuel density megajoules within it. So I guess one stack isn't enough, which is good to know that they will go to refuel before they even get down to a single stack of rock hole fuel. Makes me think I might want to use coke instead for them, but rock hole will be fine for now. All it changes is how often they go to refuel. Hello, welcome. You've made it to the last 30 seconds of today's stream. So we didn't do much in the last 3 hours, right? We really didn't do much. We set up 2 train stations, and we upgraded lead. Those are the things that we managed to physically do today. We had a lot of discussion on the changes that have been made in these most recent updates. That was the bulk of it. Changes that have been made, and we've had some discussion about what the next steps realistically should look like, but I'm still a little undecided on what exactly we'll do next time, because yeah, it's just that there's so much that we can do. It will all what it comes down to is how much rail can I make, because that will ultimately determine what we can do. If I have enough rail to keep going and like be able to actually build additional factories, then we will do so. We will attempt to continue to progress, because what we need to do going forward is work towards getting into Pi Science 2, and that, as we've determined, that needs a lot of creatures that I don't currently have. So we need to start working towards getting into creatures, new creatures, if we want to go into the Pi Science route. In the alternative, we could work on upgraded versions of plates and ore processing. We could just do ore processing next time. Better versions of ore processing. But that all of this is predicated on whether or not I actually have enough of the infrastructure that I need to do any builds in the first place. What time do I usually stream? I always stream from 10 a.m. Eastern Time, approximately. It starts a little bit prior, usually. From 10 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. Right now, we're in Eastern Standard, but it's still going to be 10 a.m. when we're in Eastern Daylight, so it's always 10 a.m. Eastern Time, US, until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Time. So a 3-hour stream that ends now. That ends now. So, with all of that said and discussed, talked about, and Rail set, talked about what I am doing for Rail, setting up some wonderful Rail system stuff that we've already seen in our previous Pi series, by the way. I did use these particular train stations in our previous Pi series. I did have... right, I was thinking of doing that. No, we're just gonna stick with this. We're gonna stick with this, and we're gonna build on this side. We're gonna build on this side when we need to build. We're gonna build on this side when we need to build. Anyway, yeah. Thank you all for watching. This has been Otaku Show, and if you've enjoyed today's stream, please be sure to do all of the social and engagement stuff down below the video. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, and hit the notification bell. Consider becoming a member of the channel by hitting the great big blue join button and supporting on Patreon at patreon.com/otakushow. But if you're so inclined and able, I will be back on Thursday. I'll be back to the normal microphone because apparently that's not the problem with these audio cracks. And yeah, I will see you on Thursday.